So welcome to another episode of Paul's Asian Adventure. Due to the lockdown here in the Philippines, some people have asked me a lot about Thai women and how they compare to Filipina women. So this is what the discussion we're going to have, so stay tuned or be doomed. So Gio, I know you've been in both Thailand and obviously you're here in the Philippines.
Yep.
I know you've dated in both places.
Yep.
And you have that experience. I've spoken to some people, and of course you've spoken to others. So I'll start with the attitude of Filipinas versus Thai girls. What would you say there? What is the attitude? What type of behavior, pros and cons on each one?
Ooh, that's a hard question to tackle. Pros and cons. I think Thai women, well, I guess we'll start with Thai. They are a little bit more easygoing. They don't have the bouts of jealousy. They don't seem to just light up your phone every 5 minutes. Could have to do with the socioeconomic advantages of Thai, having more job opportunities, I suppose. But they have that Buddhist culture, so they do seem to be a little more easyggoing, relaxed.
Yeah.
And here they do have that Spanish influence, so a lot of the
and the Catholic Church
and the Catholic and it really, other than geographical location, there's really nothing too Asian about the Philippines, really.
Yeah.
And you go to Thailand, that's Asia,
Yeah.
We're not talking geographically here. We're talking about the people. So.
Well, from what I've heard, also I've heard the same. Thai girls are much more relaxed. They're not as controlling. I know is a negative word, but here they tend to have more jealousy. They tend to want to see your phone, watch what you're doing. They want to secure themselves much more than a Thai girl, and I think it's not just the socioeconomic. I think it's something to do with the Catholic religion versus the Buddha. I just think people from a Buddha country tend to be more relaxed about everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think that they are a bit more possessive here.
Yeah.
They are, but on the positive note, they're probably more nurturing. If that's kind of, a lot of people really like that. A girl who's just really takes care of you. But sometimes it can be a little bit overbearing. But for some people, they like that.
Yeah. Now, guys, before I continue, I would like to ask you to do the following. Please go ahead and comment, share, subscribe, and like. And if you really like this video, please share it, because I think it'll be useful for a lot of guys trying to make a decision on where to go. So the next thing with personalities, you were into it here, is empathy, right?
Right.
I found Filipina women, and I've lived everywhere in the world, dated everywhere from the Middle East to Europe to America to the Nordic countries, and I found Filipinas, without a doubt, to be the most empathetic women I have met in general now.
If you want a woman to really take care of you, if you want a woman who is going to fight for the relationship through whatever adversity, there's probably no better. There's probably no better than a Filipina, honestly.
Yeah, I think most people who have been to the Philippines and dated a Filipina would agree on that. And of course, there's going to be exceptions to the rules. I was going to discuss age gap, but I'll leave that to the end. So stick around to the end, guys. Now, looks and body. What attracted me to the Philippines the first time I came was a diversity of looks. Like when I went on dating apps, Thai dating apps versus Filipina dating apps, I just found Filipinas in general, for me anyway, much better looking. Something about their looks, their body type, everything attracted me to them more than it did to Thai women.
Okay.
And that might be an illusion on my side. And like I said, I haven't been to Thailand, but it just seems that way to me. What's What's your experience there?
I'm actually going to disagree with you there because
Okay.
I think it really just comes down to the person on what they're attracted to. If you want more delicate, refined Asian features, I think you find that in Thailand, and maybe that's more your thing. Versus here, they do have more of a indigenous Latin mix
Kind
to
of
it.
a diversity here. I mean,
it's
I've
very
seen-
diverse.
Yeah.
You can get all kinds of different looks, but also in Thailand they've mixed with Chinese, and granted, a lot of times you still can't really tell.
But I think it's more common here.
There's a bigger diversity of looks here, I would say. Yeah.
So if you're into dating different types of women, this would be the place, I think.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
Now, another thing that people don't think about is like the ease of travel. So when you start dating a girl, you know, you might date her for 2-3 months, it might not work out, but in the end, you're going to meet a girl that you really like, that you might want to travel with. You know, you might want to go from Thailand to Vietnam, or from the Philippines to Vietnam, Philippines to Malaysia. And of course, they have to have a passport. Getting a passport in the Philippines is easy, and it's not hard. It took me 1 month to get it. But the difficulty is actually leaving the country.
Right.
Because they have this, what they call the offloading, meaning they won't let the Filipino leave due to some rules and regulations, and actually it's up to that person deciding to interview you, and they don't have to give a specific reason. So it's very kind of draconian the way they treat people here, the way the Filipinos are not allowed to leave the country. They say it's to protect them from sex trafficking, but
it's also to protect, because of my understanding, the Philippines is responsible to pay for them to get back if they overstay or something. And in other countries, that's not the case. They wouldn't pay for you to come back.
But so my understanding is that the Thai passport has a much easier, and it's open to more countries to travel than a Filipino passport. I don't know.
Yeah, I have found that like Thai women, and I found this in Vietnam too, that their passport is more powerful. They are less of a flight risk. And it's much easier for them just to leave and fly. If you talk to a lot of Thai women who are not poor province Thai women, but average Thai women, most of them have probably been to Hong Kong, they've probably been to Vietnam, they've been to Malaysia, they've been to Singapore, they've traveled within their area. And you talk to most Filipinas, and they haven't even gone out of their barangay, half of them, you know. So
that's true.
Yeah, if you're looking at traveling, then it's much easier. With a Filipina, it's going to take some work. You're going to have to help her get out of the country at least 1 or 2 times.
To help her open a bank account. Have some type of residual income. You have to show all that to be able to leave the country. So they understand that you will come back.
Right.
So what would you say about how, like, the personality of a Filipina versus a Thai woman when it comes to independence? I have found that Filipinas are not independent. They are very clingy, for a lack of other terms. They want to be beside your side. If you say you're going somewhere, they want to go with you. You want to go take a massage, even if they don't want a massage, they want to go with you. They want to want to kind of make sure to secure their investment, for lack of other words, you know, to make sure you don't get taken by somebody else, it seems almost. So they always want to be with you. They don't want to leave your side. To me, that can get it's kind of charming actually in the beginning when you're not used to it. But after a while, that gets tiring. You want to be alone, you know? How are Thai women compared, or maybe is that your experience with Filipinas? And if so, how are Thai women compared to Filipinas that way?
Yeah, that's been my experience too. I think it's really their upbringing. I mean, they grew up in a household with a lot of people. Often they share the same bed. Sometimes they'll take showers together just to conserve on water. So it's not uncommon at all. And they ride the jeepney, they're all together. So they're just used to being close together with each other. And in the West, we're just not used to that. We have much more personal space than Filipinos do. Now, my Thai girlfriend, she was an accountant. She worked at home. And we were together almost all the time. But when she was busy with work,
She send you out?
yeah, it's almost like the opposite. I was like the clingy boyfriend because I had nothing. I was just living there, not working at the time.
So you're kind of bored.
I was the clingy boyfriend. But she would say, "Hey, go out and get a massage," or she's like, "Yeah, go spend a couple hours. Go check out the floating market over here." And I had no problem doing that because I don't mind doing solo stuff, So that's very opposite.
That was your girlfriend, but when you've spoken to other people, and
I think it's the same.
it's the same.
I really do. Yeah. They're not as clingy.
So if you want more of an independent girl, probably a Thai girl is better.
Yes. Yeah.
If you want a girl around you all the time, probably a Filipina. On average, obviously, we're
On
talking.
average, yeah. Again, if you have, you alleviate a lot of these problems if you have a girl who's working here, right?
Yeah.
So.
But that's kind of hard to find actually because the employment level is so high here.
It is.
And then go ahead.
And I assuming you were going to say the same thing, but the opposite end is they are overworked. So then you have the opposite problem. They work
6 days a week.
7 days a week sometimes.
And they have one day off, and so you can really you can't really go anywhere with them unless you just want to go somewhere 1 day a week. So for some people, the education level of a girl is kind of important because they feel they have to have someone almost at their level to be communicating with them and someone to talk to and all that. So
sure.
What would you say on average, who has the better education level, who has the better able to talk about different subject matters, the Filipina or the Thai girl on average?
See, that's hard to say because they don't have the English, right? So automatically your dating pool and people you can speak with shrinks way down in Thailand. But the ones who do speak English tend to be very educated. Like my girlfriend was an accountant and just smart. You could tell that she was just very intelligent. And in here, I have found it's not their fault. They get their education, but often it really means nothing, and they're still working menial jobs, running the sari store, working selling phone cases. It's just. And so I think if they had more opportunities, maybe they're. Because work experience adds to your education.
You mentioned something actually very interesting there, is the language. Now, if you're going to Thailand, you have that big minus of the language, and the Philippines, you have the big plus. Right. That they speak English for the most part. So your dating pool here rises so much more than in Thailand.
Sure.
So meeting a province girl in Thailand is actually, I would assume, really hard due to the language barrier, right? Unless you're willing to learn Thai, which I hear is a really difficult language to learn.
Difficult language, yeah. It's not like Spanish where you really have a good shot, and there's a lot of similarities with English that you could.
Yeah.
But that's a huge problem.
That's a big minus for living in Thailand compared to living here in the Philippines. Now the last thing, and I think a lot of subscribers are interested in this, is the age gap relations. Now in the Philippines, age gap relations between a Filipina and a foreigner it's like normal. And they look at foreigners as a really good catch here due to multiple reasons that I don't want to get into now. But how is it in Thailand compared to the Philippines?
I would say really almost the same, honestly, in my opinion. Maybe a little bit of an edge to the Philippines, maybe because there's so much more poverty, and that's a contributing factor, let's be honest. But I would give the Philippines the edge. However, it's good in Thailand too. But again, your dating pool is shrunk way down if you're trying to find somebody who speaks English.
So now we both experienced this in the Philippines. The girls love to flirt here, right? I mean, you say something to them, they'll say something as well. Even if they're not interested in you, they'll still flirt with you. It's like a fun thing. Flirting here is fun.
Right.
Is it the same in Thailand?
No, it's not. It's not really the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you can't like say, "Hey, good looking" when they walk by, and they'll smile and say, "Oh, you're good looking too," or
Well, you
like
can.
that.
They won't understand you. So, but you can. But it's not as a play. They're not as playful as
Okay.
Filipinos.
Okay.
That's a big bonus for the Philippines. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, you can. You know, sometimes it's not even about you're trying to pick up the girl. You're just
No,
trying
you just
to
have fun.
just have fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And they are a bit more playful here. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you one last question here.
Okay. I'm ready.
And it might be a hard question for you. But
We'll see.
if you're on a remote island and there's one Filipina and one Thai girl, I know you cannot have both, which one would you choose? They're both nines.
All right, Filipinas, I love you, but I'm sorry, but I'm going to go with the Thai, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm on this island, and I'm going to get very bored of Filipino food. So, Thai food, I love Thai food, so I'm going to go with Thai because I love Thai food, and I think my palate will be better served.
See, with me, I'll go with the Filipina and have the Thai girl make me Thai food.
Oh, no, you only allow one girl. You said that.
To be with one girl. Okay. With that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you really think this video can help people, please share it and comment, like. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching to the end. Bye.